Welcome back to Stories from the River. This is your host, Charlie Malouf. I've got a special guest today. I'm here with our 2023 Memory Maker of the Year, April Whitener. April, welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited. Thanks for enduring that 2-hour commute to get here from York, South Carolina. So I appreciate that and being flexible here. Are you a fan of the pod?
Yes. Yeah, I love it.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
This is our follow-up series from the annual awards gala, or should I say gala? Maybe,
Who knows?
Yeah. You were recognized with a really nice award at the recent gala that we held last month at Bank of America Stadium in the Panthers Den. You received the highly regarded Memory Maker of the Year award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so I like to say you're the newest member of the Hall of Fame at Broad River. Our previous award recipients have included Shamika Smith last year in CX, Drew Matlick, an all-star in home delivery. He won it in 21. We had 3 winners in 2020, Heather Greenwood in MMX, James Willett in operations, and Tim Subkowiak in IT. All 3 of them have been guests here on the pod. And then also in 2019, we had Renee Bradley from Retail Performance and Chelsea Miller from Human Capital. So, we wanted to speak to you and to see how you elevated in 2023 and to talk more about this award. But first, before we get into that, and we'll have plenty of time to get into that, I'd like to use this opportunity to just get to know your story a little bit better, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So before we get into your history with Broad River, take us through tell us your personal story and background. Tell us about your family, where you're from, and background, and all that good stuff.
So I grew up in Indian Land, South Carolina, so not too far from where I'm at now in York, South Carolina. So I graduated high school in 2003. And once I graduated, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do as a career in life. So I went to York Technical College.
Okay.
I knew I needed to get some skills to get in the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that would be a great start, which led me to my first job in accounting. I was a credit clerk for a beer and wine distributor.
Okay.
So it was a lot of accounts receivable. And once I did that, I knew accounting is what I love, and that's what I want to pursue.
Great. You found that early on.
Yes. So from there, I attended Belmont Abbey College. I knew I needed to advance my education. And by that time, I had a husband and a 1-year-old, and I was working full-time in accounting. And I was going to Belmont Abbey at nighttime. They had a bachelor's degree program.
Wow.
So I had a very full life.
That's busy. Belmont Abbey, that's a beautiful campus.
It is a gorgeous campus.
Yeah, right off I-85.
Yeah.
In Indian Land, that town has just blown up in the last few years, right?
When I lived there, it was a very tiny town, so it's completely different.
I was going to say, I don't even know if it showed up on the map
Probably not.
Up until recently. And so you're married with a 1-year-old, going to night school. What is it about accounting that you love? Like, what kind of stroked your passion? Was it something like did you really like numbers growing up, or?
No, which was surprising that I wasn't really like a math person, but I like that you get to coordinate with so many different departments. You get to deal with, higher up management and just everyone in the company you really get to coordinate with.
Yeah.
So that's what I really like about it.
So it keeps it kind of fresh and lets you learn about everything about a company. Okay, so what are some of your hobbies outside of work?
I really like to go to the gym and exercise. I feel like it helps with my mental health. It helps get some energy out. And I volunteer at my son's school. I'm the PTO president at school. I've done that for 9 years now.
Wow. And how old's your son now?
He's 10, and then my daughter went to school there too, and she's in the 8th grade. She's
okay,
14.
and what's your daughter's and your son's name?
Mason and Abigail.
Mason and Abigail, shout out to you guys. You're going to watch your mom here on the podcast. That's fantastic.
I'm cool now.
Yeah, she's super cool now. That's awesome. And so, are you a morning workout person or an evening workout person?
Evening.
Evening after work.
Yeah.
Okay.
It takes dedication. There's some days where I just want to sit on the couch and just zone out. But once you get there and get your workout in, you feel like a completely new person.
It just clicks.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you're going before dinner, like in between work and dinner?
Yes.
Okay. Cardio or strength training?
Strength.
Oh, strength training.
Yes.
Awesome.
Love it.
All the time?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
I try to get my cardio in, but I don't really like it.
Not a lot of people like cardio.
Yeah.
And so you walked us through your career the beer and wine distributor, and then Belmont Abbey. Who else did you work for before coming to Broad River?
Office environment.
Okay, yeah, great company.
Yeah.
And so, what led you to joining the River?
So I was at Office Environments for almost 9 years.
Wow.
During COVID was whenever I left there. Just kind of the dynamic. The owner left, she retired, and just kind of it didn't have the same family feel that it once had. So I decided it was time for a change. I just felt it was time for a change from where I was at. So I left there, and I think within a week I got hired on at Broad River.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, were you going into the office there, or were you remote, or was it just recently remote since COVID hit there?
Yeah, before COVID, I was in the office. So that was quite a commute too. So that was another reason that I decided the commute was just way too much, especially for having 2 kids. But once COVID, we were everybody was remote.
Okay. And so you actually came to us through a temp service, right?
Right.
And then in what, June 2020, we were talking off campus?
Yes, June 2020.
So right in the middle of the pandemic.
Yes. What a time.
Yeah, what a time. What a time. What a time. And so we were already remote with the finance department at that point. We kind of went remote early on in the pandemic. Did you come in to kind of get trained and then just send you home?
We did our training in a conference room with our masks on, one person at one end and then me at the other, and we did our training just very spread out.
Keeping your social distance, 6 feet or more away.
Yeah.
I got you. That's what we were all doing. What was your interview process like with Broad River?
I had to do a remote interview, which was very different, but it was a really good interview. Markel was very sweet, and she made it feel like home. So, and it was just a big family, and I'm like, let me check this out. It seemed like exactly what I was looking for because I was so family oriented at the time with 2 small kids that I wanted to find something that fit for me.
So, it's interesting about, interviewing. I don't even know that I ever did a virtual interview prior to COVID. Maybe I did, but it seems like it's such the norm once COVID hit, and it was not even a big deal. But you always learn about, like, sometimes people, they're super casual about it. Sometimes they're like on their phone, they got a bad connection, they're shaking or walking around. I'm like, could you not get stable or get on your laptop? Or, I've had people whose phone batteries have gone out, like you couldn't test it. So that's even become a sign, like, how serious they're taking it,
Yeah.
Okay. So you got interviewed, you got into the process, you got hired. Within what, like a month, you became full-time?
Right.
And so when did you really start to say, oh, I like this place? Or it's like, and what was your initial reactions after you joined Broad River?
I remember, I think it was like the first week or 2 that I was there, there was the first town hall.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, I've never worked at a place like this where it's like everyone's just so energetic and nice and it's such a positive atmosphere. I'm like, it's got to be too good to be true, but it really is that way. Everyone's so friendly and kind, and it's such an uplifting place to work.
The chat on the town halls gets on fire. So it's a lot of fun to kind of track the chats. And, those were fun town halls because we were having them a lot more frequently because we had to communicate kind of what's going on. And so do you remember your actual first day?
I think so.
Yeah. Was it remote or was it in person?
In person.
Oh, in person.
Yeah, I trained in person for probably a week.
And who trained you?
Markel Clark.
Markel herself.
Yes.
And did she take you to lunch? Was it, I don't even know if restaurants were open.
I don't think we ever even went to lunch. We really social distanced.
You just worked all the way through. Okay, that's good. And when did you get promoted again?
It was about 6 months after I got hired on.
Okay. And so as supervisor of accounts payable.
Right.
Which is the role you have today.
Yes.
And how big was your team when you kind of got promoted?
Then it was just the 3 of us.
And who is the 3 of us?
It was Lisa Stinson, Renee Phillips, and myself.
Okay. And now who's on your team?
Now we added Japrina Sifford.
And so Japrina's been with us for a while, so she transferred from a different kind of area. And Lisa and Renee, they've been with us for how long?
I think Lisa's been with us for about 8 years.
Yeah. And
then Renee started right after I did.
You got a very stable team.
Yes, we have an amazing team.
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll talk about that. And so how often do you meet with your team? Like, do you meet with them every morning, check in, or once a week? Do you have one-on-ones?
We don't, because we speak to each other so much during the day with Teams or like a quick Teams call that I don't feel the need that we have to have meetings because we're always on the same page and we're always in touch.
Yeah.
I think because we just work so perfectly together that it just works for us.
How do you allocate like the work? Do you kind of just know, hey, you're going to take the Ashley invoice or these vendor payables, you're going to take these payables. Like how do you handle all that?
I think it's finding the strengths of your team. So I knew Renee would be perfect for data entry. So she's handles all of our AFI invoicing because it's such a heavy workload and a lot of data entry. And then Lisa's great at utilities, and then she has her vendors that she works, and then Japrina, since she's newer on AP, we've kind of given her a smaller workload and our easier vendors, if you would say.
To on-ramp her.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Have you ever supervised, led, or managed people prior to this role?
Yes. At my last job, I was accounting manager.
Okay. And how large was your team there?
It was the same, 4 people.
4 people?
Yeah.
Fantastic. How are they doing now? Did one of them take your role when you left?
From what I hear, because I still have a lot of friends there, it's just a lot. They've had a lot of turnover since then. Yeah.
So did you have to have kind of like a mental shift when you went from kind of the AP specialist to the supervisor to like, because now you're going to be responsible for a team and start leading people?
It didn't really feel like a shift just because I kind of knew the ins and outs of all of it because I started as just an AP specialist. So I kind of knew it all, and I kind of like to know everything that could go on in AP. So it didn't really feel like a big shift for me.
Okay.
It was just, I was used to it.
And state of work in America today, you've got some workers who are, I don't know if you call them essential workers, but they have to be at their job site. Healthcare workers, law enforcement, a lot of our people, retail, hospitality, a distribution center, logistics. I mean, they're working in the warehouse or in the stores or in the hotel or in the restaurant service industry. And then you've got a lot of kind of like, so blue collar is not really remote. White collar, you get a lot of hybrid or remote work. And your team kind of works remotely. How does that work for you, for your team? What is your kind of take on the state of work today?
So there's people that love working remote. Everyone on my team loves being fully remote. That works for them. I don't like to be fully remote. I kind of like hybrid. So I love going in 1 or 2 days a week. And when I started, I even asked Markel, like, is it okay if I just come in like 1 or 2 days? Nobody was in the office. So she's like, that's perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. So I would come in 1 day a week just to kind of get out of my house. And I felt like it just helps me. So
kind of breaks up the monotony, doesn't it?
Yes.
And I think it's so personal for everyone. We have, like in our customer care department, a lot of them are just working remotely, but it works really well with their schedule. You may have a lot of single parents who love the flexibility or have parental duties. But also, I mean, we have a lot of people in corporate, human capital, and finance who are coming in, or leadership who are coming in every day because they love that connection with others and the separation of almost church and state, home and office.
Yeah.
And so I think it's all maybe become a personal choice or by department choice, if you will. So are you still coming in 1 or 2 days a week?
Yes, I still come in 1 or 2 days. It helps. I have good childcare with my in-laws. And I really like to come in 1 or 2 and just interact with people, seeing IT in the office. So
is your schedule the same when you're working from home, or do you find that you're working more, longer hours or less? Do you start earlier?
I keep it the same at home. I try to get up and get dressed just like if I were coming into the office. I feel like it just helps you realize like this is your time to work.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of like, don't work in your pajamas. Then there's really no separation. You need to kind of have that line of demarcation. So that's good. So how are you, so you talked about connecting with your team like throughout the day. What does that look like? Is it just like, hey, someone has a question on like a certain invoice or a vendor, or is it, I just wanted to check in, I'm having a bad day?
We do both because we're such a close team. So if they have any questions at all, they'll just shoot a quick Teams chat. We'll have a group chat if they think it's something that the whole group needs to, weigh in on. Or if it's just a question for me, they'll just send a quick Teams or, hey, can you jump on a call real quick?
What's your preferred method of communication? Is it text, cell phone, Teams chat?
Teams.
Yeah, so you got Teams going all the time.
Yeah, all the time, even on my phone.
You know what's so funny is messages, I get inundated with messages I don't have them all consolidated. So it could be a text message one day, a phone call, an email. I mean, my inbox management is always a daily practice and habit. It takes a lot of time. And then Teams chat, but I might miss some Teams chats. I'm not looking at that thing 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah, with it, and so I may look. Oh, I missed someone chatted me 3 days ago. Like, yeah, you just like so many different like areas you kind of have to go and kind of make sure that you're not missing a message. That's a lot harder than it was like 5 years ago. I mean, I don't know where the messages are coming from.
Yeah.
And I want to say, hey, if that was an urgent thing, just text me. Just like, if you needed an answer and you didn't get one. But
and you find out who in finance, because Bill's not really a Teams guy. So he's, if you ever need me, you need to call or send an email.
Yeah, that's right. So then you have to remember, well, how do I need to contact this person? What's their method of communication? Okay. So when you're at home, what do you kind of do to kind of like get up and move around, or just make sure you're not sitting for like several hours? I mean, do you have any best practices there?
Yeah, I try to get up and get outside. It helps. So since we started working remotely for so long, I finally got a dog.
That's great.
So he helps me to get out of the house and get some sunshine and get some exercise and walk, just to kind of get out from behind your desk.
Yeah.
Because there's times where it feels like you've been staring at the computer screen
Yeah.
for hours.
I think the obvious is working from home, not just having your dog there and go out for a walk, but reducing the commute time. Are there any other pros and cons to working from home versus working in the office?
I do like that I can pick my kids up from school and take them to school in the morning. When I worked in the corporate world in the office every day, I never got to pick my kids up. And not too long ago, my son said, "Remember whenever you never used to pick me up from school?" And yes, I remember that. So it's so nice to see him, come out of school in the afternoons and
That's
ask
awesome.
about his day. But there are days where grandma picks him up from school, so mom can go into the office.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to have those memories and that flexibility to be able to do that. I think that what I've heard that resonates with me, it's not a place you go, it's something that you do.
Yes.
It's an output, it's not a place. And it's also people who you work with, right, who are involved. So you are on the finance department, which is the knight of the ledger. We like to say purpose begins with identity. I know Bill is very passionate around that identity. And then we love annual themes, and we just introduced our 2024 word of the year, connect. And, as I alluded to kind of earlier, last year's word of the year was elevate. Prior to that, we had thrive in 2022. We had forward together in 2021. How important have annual themes been in contributing to our culture, as well as rallying everyone around a common idea for the year?
It kind of gives you a purpose because you can connect it to so many different things. So like this year, the word connect, it really spoke to me. Like we were just saying that since everyone is at home so much and isolated, and it's good to connect to the people that you work with. So it's good to connect it to what you're going through in life at the moment.
Yeah, that's really well said. And I think that isolation is a key word. Even though people are going to be working from home, we can't let them feel lonely or isolated. And so that's a great one. Well, do you have a personal word of the year?
I don't.
People come up with those. They come up with their own personal word of the year. I don't either this year, but I just like to kind of go along with what the company says. That's all I can keep in my brain at one time. Okay, so Broad River has been recognized by Furniture Today as one of only 10 companies in our industry who were recognized as one of the best places to work in the United States. In fact, we are the only company that has received this distinction from Furniture Today for the past 3 years. What does this tell us about our culture?
That it's a place where you can go and feel comfortable and feel like you belong to part of a family, and that you're just not another number or another employee, that people really know and value your work and what you're doing.
Yeah, that's well said. What is your favorite thing about our culture here?
Probably it just nurtures people to be kind to one another. I feel like in the corporate world, it's really driven by numbers, and I feel like here, everyone respects what you do. Everyone is respectful of each other. I haven't had a negative encounter with any person in our company, which is very odd.
That's pretty amazing.
Coming from corporate America.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's not like it's been all smooth. I mean, we've had some various events that have been traumatic and challenging.
And everyone's just understanding and works together.
Yeah, we got some great people.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about 2023. So you had a really special and memorable year. a year in which you won the highly regarded Memory Maker of the Year award. You had some major project milestones as well and accomplishments this past year. Take us through a couple of them that really stand out for you.
So Rosie, or we have a robot, an automated robot.
Now, for people who don't know, explain, like, what do you mean? Is it a physical robot?
No, so she's installed, we've just made her a she. She's installed on the desktop, and she handles our AFI invoicing. So that's originally what I was hired to do, was AFI invoicing, because it's such a high volume of invoices that come through. And since there is such a high volume, it comes through EDI. So it's an electronic invoice. And there's a lot of data entry work that needs to be done. So the invoices come over. If AFI's number matches what our PO is, you just have to take an invoice off a hold. And there could be over 1,000 invoices in a day. So it was taking up a lot of time just doing tedious work that just had to be done because we have to get those invoices paid. And I know when I started, I'm like, there's got to be an easier way to do this. And I think Bill had the idea of, let's check out some bots and see what they can do.
So it's like, I think we used UiPath, and which is one of the leaders in this space. And I'm going to get it wrong, but it's like an automated bot processing, robotic processing automation.
Yes.
So taking like non-human work and allowing people, automating it with a bot so that our people can do more human-related work.
Yeah. So she didn't replace a person. She just made it so we could allocate our time for our people to more important things that need to be done.
Yeah.
And she takes out the work that can just a few clicks need to be done, but it would take up hours of a day.
And so she processes automatically, what, 90% of them, 95% of them?
Yeah, I think she's actually at, if we don't have a ton of price changes, she's about 70-80%.
Okay, and so then someone else has to go manually review
Yeah,
the
so
others.
anything that she'll leave anything that we need to take a closer look at. If there's price changes, shortages, a change of freight, she'll leave those that we can focus our time on, so we don't have to worry about the ones that are, these are perfect, let's pay them.
So she's doing the basic ones, getting those approved, and like what, every item that we receive is an invoice essentially?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you know anyone else in our space who's doing that?
No, and I didn't even think that was something that could be done until I came here.
That's super cool. And I know Bill's got dreams of other future bots that he wants to kind of automate some processing. So that'll be cool. So, okay, that's great. And I know that's a big endeavor to kind of install that, work with an integrator, get that bot going and test it out and use it. And so that's up and running. What else did you have last year?
So last year we changed our corporate card platform. We used Caesar, which is through Wells Fargo. We're still through Wells Fargo, but it's Wells One.
And you say Caesar. It's not like Augustus Caesar, Julius Caesar. It's CCER.
Corporate Card Expense Reporting.
Okay, yeah. Caesar with Wells Fargo. Okay.
So we're still with Wells Fargo, but they changed their platform. And when I started, it kind of made us change our methods for employee mileage reimbursements. When I started, people were submitting them through Excel reports or PDFs. They were just emailing them in. We were having to cut manual checks. Bill would sign them. We would mail them. They'd get lost in the mail. Something happened during COVID with the mail.
Yeah.
So then we had to start sending them via UPS, which is very costly. But we want to reimburse our memory makers for their mileage or their out of pocket. So we were just waiting for the perfect time and system that would work for us. And once we changed corporate card platforms, we found out there was a capability for mileage reimbursements. And I knew, okay, this is what we've been waiting for. This is our time. So I had the huge task of getting everybody set up with the Wells Fargo.
I think I was the last person to get set up, April, but you were very patient with me. And that was a great project. And so we're on a brand new platform. And did we get Wells Fargo to agree to let us go first, like to pilot it first or be in the first wave?
We weren't the first wave, but it was they said July is your cutoff. So we had to have everything converted over by July. They kind of gave us a deadline.
That's awesome. Is there any other major project out there from last year? Because those are two big ones.
Yeah, those were our big ones. That one took up a lot of time.
Awesome. And then anything else about your team that you want to share? I've heard it's called the Dream Team in AP.
Yes, the Dream Team. Just because we work so perfectly together, we're just very smooth run department. we don't ever have any like difficulties, and everyone has their specialty that it's like they were made for that role.
Yeah.
So it just runs perfectly.
Love it. Love it. And so then the year almost got derailed with our cyber incident in October, early October of last year. How did you and your team respond during that traumatic event?
So we still had to pay our vendors during that time. So it was coordinating that.
Yeah. How'd you run report?
Yeah, we couldn't really run reports, but I was able to tell, okay, we need to get this vendor paid. Like we needed to order laptops. So we needed to, and we couldn't process payments through stores because we weren't operating at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to coordinate with the bank to send wire payments to all these vendors because we still wanted to, keep them paid and keep a good reputation.
Yeah. So there's a lot of workarounds.
Yes.
Going through, so building some resiliency to say, okay, well, if we can't go through our main system, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we found out a way to keep people paid. So
yeah, which is really critical. Okay, so as you look back and reflect, what are your like standout memories from 2023? Your favorite memories? What are you most proud of?
Most proud of probably my team. Just making it through the difficult time of launching Rosie, launching the Wells Fargo, because that was really a group effort to get everybody set up. And they just really had my back through a lot of it because it took up so much of my time. And they are the first people to jump on and say, what do you need? What do we need to do? And we come together and get stuff done.
That's fantastic. Okay, I'm going to shift now to the Memory Maker of the Year award. So let me set up the award and read some excerpts from your peer-submitted nomination form. By the way, this was the most competitive year we've had for Memory Maker of the Year. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, we had the most nominations that we've ever received. And even though it was close and competitive and a lot of really deserving memory makers, it was a unanimous choice by the committee to select you as our 2023 Memory Maker of the Year. So let me read some of these excerpts that I've got here from this, and let me just kind of set up the award. A Broad River Retail Memory Maker is someone who embraces our purpose statement, furnishing life's best memories. They demonstrate our core values, integrity, personal excellence, customer satisfaction, collaboration, and innovation in both words and actions daily. They lead with a premier attitude and are excellent in their commitment to success. They are the best of the best and someone who is a memory maker in their department, our company, the community, and at home. And so one is, how does the nominee embrace our purpose statement? Always with a smile, April is very accommodating, friendly, personable, and professional. She is genuine with her interactions with memory makers and our vendors. Accounting is very much a service department in many ways, and April understands this and goes out of her way to provide the white glove treatment to all without exception. Just recently, she came in on Friday. She has an hour commute to help train some individuals on Wells One's new platform. She also spent hours on the phone or on Teams providing personal training, even though online training was available for these people. Some people are just, and this is a quote, some people from you, some people just don't understand the online training. So I help them and they are very appreciative.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so it said, the next question was, which of our core values does this nominee exemplify most? Customer satisfaction is what April is all about. April's kind manner and willingness to please is well noted among many. Already, she has been a premier employee of the month. This year, she saw a way to really please our memory makers. She planned, worked hard, and provided these wonderful new expense reporting products that everyone has raved about how this has made their life so much easier. This was a mission by April to give that satisfaction to her customers, being her fellow memory makers. And then how has this nominee elevated Broad River Retail and their fellow memory makers this year? In our year of Elevate through intrapreneurialism or entrepreneurialism, but intra being within the company, April Whitener has done just that for the entire company. She had engaged with Wells Fargo to upgrade our commercial credit card reporting system and to provide an efficient employee reimbursement system. These were two huge projects that have greatly enhanced the lives of our memory makers. And goes on and on and on. I'll skip ahead here. Please provide an example of how the nominee has been a leader or role model to others. Over the years, and this is from Bill Woodman, that I've been head of finance, there's been a certain level of instability in the AP group, accounts payable group. Since I hired April, the team has really come together where her staff labels themselves the dream team, because for them, it truly is a dream come true to work for someone like April. Their productivity has never been better. She is very communicative, patient, and understanding. Will teach and coach opportunities when needed, a perfect role model for her staff. As a leader, she not only manages her department, but this was a special year of leading 2 significant implementations involving multiple people and companies to pull it off. This is not always expected of someone in April's position, but she took it on and excelled. And so tell us why you consider this nominee a memory maker. April was not done with her accomplishments this year. She wanted to continue to increase efficiencies for her AP team and to provide even greater service to our memory makers with great passion and effort. She engaged Wells Fargo and implemented their Wells One product for expense reimbursements for our memory makers for mileage and personal card paid expenses. It also works with a mobile app to photo upload receipts directly and has a daily workflow system as well. I've been using it. I really love it.
Okay.
It's a lot better. So, and then just skipping ahead, one word that describes the nominee is, my initial thoughts were that she improves the lives of our memory makers with a smile, grace, and fortitude to make everyone's day just a little bit better. I cannot find one word that can offer justice to who April is. When I think of April, these are the words that come to my mind: kindness, dependability, ethical, integrity, intellectual, punctual, willingness, teammate, loyal. People are at ease with April and know she will help them no matter what. She's a major contributor to the finance team, and we are stronger because of her. If one word, then it's kindness. She treats everyone as if they are the most important person in the room. Great for culture, great for Broad River. I mean, that is such a beautiful,
Kind.
that's a great nomination for him. So I have to ask you, how did it feel when your name was announced that evening?
I was shocked. I think I had thought of about 5 different people. I'm like, oh, this person's going to get it. I wasn't even on the radar that I thought I would. Even though I did have a very hard year the year before. So it was just such an honor because I truly consider memory makers like my customer. And my number one job is to help anything that they need. If they're out and they have an issue with a corporate card or they need help with their mileage, I stop what I'm doing. That's my focus because
that's awesome.
They need help to get this done so they can go out and do their job. So
have you always been like this?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you, and you must have had great parents, great upbringing. What is it that kind of led you to have this kind of heart for others?
I think I have just a work ethic that I was born with.
Yeah.
And I've told Bill this before. I feel like some people, you could teach people accounting, but it's really hard to teach people work ethic. And I think some people have it, and some people don't really have it as much as others.
But it's beyond work ethic though, April. I mean, there's the kindness layer, because you can have work ethic and just like, yes, I'll get you, whatever. You can not layer it with the kindness, which is, I don't know if you're born with, maybe you're born with that. I don't know if it's caught or taught or if you're just born with it.
I think I just like to put people at ease, and I feel like being kind and, always offering people a smile, even strangers, just puts people at ease. And if others are at ease, I'm at ease. And yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for doing this again. And just a few more questions and I'll let you off the hot seat here.
Okay.
So since you've been a memory maker here at the River, what is something that you've learned about yourself or about what you've been able to accomplish that has surprised even you?
Just what I can accomplish if I really put my mind to it and have a good team and I'm with a good company. So if you work with a good company that supports you, you can accomplish so many things.
Yeah. And it takes a team too.
It really does.
What's next? What is the next big project you're thinking about tackling?
I know. I'm like, can I top what we did last year? I need to come up with something because it was just huge last year. All
right. We'll bring you back when you figure that out. Okay. What are some of your best habits that serve you well?
I like to, at the beginning of the week, I like to sit down at my desk with my planner, plan out what I'm going to do for the week at work, outside of work. It just kind of gives to me a goal. If I wrote it down, I feel like I need to accomplish it. Even if it's, I'm going to go to the gym these days. I wrote it down. Those are the days I'm going. So I feel like having a plan for the week really helps me.
Yeah. Show me your plan. I'll show you your life and I'll show you your future. And so you've got it all mapped out and you're thinking ahead. That's great.
Yeah.
So that way, if you don't feel like going to the gym, you're like, hey, it's on the couch.
I wrote it. I have to go.
That's right. That's right. That's accountability and commitment. So what is something about you that would surprise your fellow memory makers?
That I'm very much an introvert. I know I'm so like friendly and email and always helpful, but I am very much an introvert.
You've told me you're an introvert, and you told me you were nervous about coming on here, but you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so if you can go back to your day one, your first day, your first week with Broad River, what would you tell your younger self? I know it's not quite 4 years ago, about what life is going to be like at the river.
That you have the capability and the support to make the position your own. If you see a change that you want to make, a way that we can work better and work smarter, you have the means to do it.
Yeah, the means and the agency.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
Just run it by Bill and get his approval.
Always run it by Bill. Always run it by Bill. Okay, final advice to someone who is not a memory maker and is thinking of joining the company or coming to the river, as we like to say. What advice would you offer to that person?
To do it, because it is a wonderful company to work for, especially if you have a family and just a positive energy. It's just a great company. It's a peaceful workplace.
Peaceful, I like that.
Yes.
We all need a little bit more peace in our lives.
Yes.
So April, before I let you off the hot seat, I did ask some of your fellow memory makers if they wanted to share a few words about what it's like to work with you.
Oh.
I'd love to read those.
Okay, great.
Okay, this is from West Dudley. April is one of the most responsive and thorough memory makers who I've had the pleasure to work with. As well, she always does it with a smile on her face and willingness to help. From Heather Greenwood. It brings me great joy that you would ask me about April, a true embodiment of what it means to be a memory maker. I remember the first time I met April, the first time I reached out to her for assistance, and literally every time since, because every time I connect with April, I am in awe of how wonderful she is. She is kind, gracious, smart, urgent, and has an incredible dedication to her role and to Broad River Retail. She handles every question with ease, grace, and confidence. I know that if I ever need anything from her, April will assist me with a smile. I have nominated her for Project Premier more than once, and am so glad we were able to recognize her as Memory Maker of the Year. She is a true embodiment of what it means to be a memory maker. From Lynn Knowles, April is always quick to respond with a willing spirit and a great smile. She makes some of the tasks we are obligated to complete much less cumbersome and painful. I love working with April, with a lot of exclamation points. From Edie Changrati, April is always so kind and down to earth, consistently demonstrates humility in her interactions and fostering a supportive environment. She is lightning fast at sorting out any issues or questions that come her way. Her natural smarts and intelligence shine through in everything she does. I mean, these are great accolades here. From Caitlin Walsh. April is never without a smile. She is one who is never afraid to face her fears or lend a helping hand. Such an inspiring woman and leader. Grateful to be on your team, April. From Sarah Callahan. April is a tenacious worker who deeply cares about her work. Not only is she an all bold, fast worker, but she exceeds expectations in her work. April is always willing to help those around her and has such a kind heart. Just a few more. Kim Harkness, you can count on April to provide solutions with a smile. She's not only great at her job, she truly cares for others, and she is sure to brighten your day. From Bill Woodman, we just read his nomination for him. April is a perfect blend of grace, eloquence, empathy, and caring for others. Meanwhile, here's the word again, having tenacity, grit, determination, intelligence, and doing what is right. It's a tough balance for some, but for April, it is second nature. That is who she is. From Coach Stacy McCormick, April is a joy to work with. She is diligent, accurate, thoughtful, and super smart. Her work has made our processes so much easier, timely, and seamless. April is premier. From Hope Stalker, April is one of my favorite people at Broad River. Watching her totally transform our AP team over the past few years has been inspiring. She really takes time to make connections with each of AP's memory makers and leads them to be the best in whatever they do. She tackled a huge project last year, and seeing her work through its challenges with grace and patience speaks volumes about her grit and determination. Personally, April has become a great friend to me as we seem to share in a lot of the same interests as busy working moms with teenage daughters that may end in wine and or violence. Totally joking. I'm so proud of April and her accomplishments, and I can't wait to see what she does next. Last one here. Harold Hampton. Working with April is an absolute treat. She is always calm, but on point. She has perfected the art of gently nudging us to stick to our deadlines, and she has a firm grasp on all AP processes and nuances. April, those are some great comments from your fellow memory makers. Any final words you've got this morning?
That's so kind. Makes my heart happy.
Well, you make the hearts happy of many, many memory makers.
Well, good. This is what I love. I love helping my coworkers and working so close together. And it just makes it a lot easier when everyone is just so kind. And
Well, you're a great model for that kindness. And congratulations again on being our
Thank
2023
you.
Memory Maker of the Year. You elevated, you dominated, you did it with tenacity, intelligence, grit, determination, kindness, grace, and you were patient with everyone, patient with me. So I appreciate that.
Well, they were patient with me too, because we were all in it together.
That's right. And we're lucky to have you, fortunate to have you on the team. And here's to many more years of success here at the River. Thanks so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, guys, that is the April Whitener episode, Memory Maker of the Year 2023. Thanks for listening in. Check us out on YouTube or Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or Google, wherever you get your podcast content, and we'll bring you fresh new content every Tuesday and Thursday here from the River. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.